You ever look back on a moment and laugh? Not because it was funny, but because it aged like spoiled milk in a heat wave? Yeah, that moment for me was our 10th anniversary dinner. I remember standing there in the kitchen, apron on, sauce bubbling, wine breathing, because in my infinite optimism, thought cooking for Olivia would mean something. A homemade meal, candles, Sinatra on vinyl, the kind of thing movies try to sell you as romance. She always said she loved old school gestures, said it reminded her of her grandparents. So I went full Rockwell painting. Chicken marsala, just like our third date. Fresh pasta. That stupid heart-shaped tiramisu mold she made me buy for Valentine's Day 2 years ago. And when she walked in the door, 30 minutes late with her heels clicking like a metronome for my nerves, I smiled. She didn't. Sorry, she said, tossing her purse down like it offended her shoulder. Traffic. I looked outside. The road was empty. She didn't touch her wine. Barely picked at the food. Didn't even notice that I'd ironed the tablecloth or used the cloth napkins. The one she said made her feel like a senator's wife. Something was off. The kind of off you don't admit to at first because it feels disloyal to your own peace of mind. But it was there. You know what she gave me for our anniversary? A gym membership. You've been saying you wanted to get back into shape, she said with a little laugh. That stung. I hadn't said that. Not once. That night, I lay awake in bed while Olivia snored softly beside me, mascara smudged just enough to look careless. My mind played back every little odd moment from the last 6 months like a highlight reel for a show I didn't realize I was starring in. The extra work meetings. The new perfume. The way she angled her phone screen away from me like it was classified intelligence. Still, I told myself I was overthinking it. That paranoia was a younger man's game. I was older, wiser, stable. And then came the text. A message meant for someone else. A name I didn't recognize. But I read it anyway. Can't stop thinking about last night. You left scratches. The next morning, I brewed coffee like a man trying to hang on to routine while standing on a landmine. Olivia was humming in the bathroom. Humming. The same woman who told me to turn down the cheerfulness last week because I whistled while flipping pancakes. I stared at my phone. At the message. At the name. Jake. I didn't know a Jake. And neither did she, or so she said, once. So I asked casual-like, "Hey Liv, you know a Jake?" She didn't miss a beat. From work. I sipped my coffee. Yeah, maybe. Someone sent me a message by accident last night. Something about scratches. Now, a guilty person usually has the decency to flinch, stall, or at least fake confusion. Olivia? She laughed. Oh, that. Probably Jake from accounting. He's always sending dumb messages to the wrong people. You should see our office group chat. It's chaos. Right. Office group chat chaos. That's what we're calling midnight thirst texts now. I nodded. Makes sense. And that was the end of it, at least for her. For me, that was the moment the floor cracked. I took a day off work. Just one. Used it to drive down to her office. I didn't go in. Just sat across the street in a diner that served bitter coffee and hotter gossip. Waited. Watched. At 12:43 p.m., Olivia exited the building. Not alone. Tall guy. Tan. Aviators. The kind of Jake you don't need a last name for because he probably introduces himself with a handshake that includes his resume. They weren't touching. Not officially. But her smile? The way she leaned in when he spoke? You know your wife. You know when she's just being polite and when she's remembering what he smells like. I took a picture. Not for leverage. Not for revenge. Just so I wouldn't keep gaslighting myself. That night, she came home late. Said she'd been in a meeting. Big client. Time-consuming. I nodded, already knowing the name of the restaurant they'd gone to. It was printed right there on the receipt in the trash she forgot to hide. From where I sat, across our overpriced granite island, she looked like the same Olivia I married. Same blue eyes, same dimple when she smiled. Only now I knew. The difference wasn't in her. It was in what I saw when I looked at her. Trust? Dead. There's a specific kind of humiliation that comes with hiring a private investigator. Like announcing, "Hey world, I don't trust my wife, but I still need help proving I'm not crazy." I picked someone low-key. A guy named Barrett. Middle-aged, ponytail, and always chewing something that looked like it used to be gum. He didn't judge. Just nodded when I gave him the details. I need photos, names, timestamps. No interpretation. Just the facts. He looked at me like a doctor about to deliver bad news before I even finished the sentence. Give me 3 days. He only needed 2. On the evening of day 2, I opened my inbox and found what I'd known but hadn't seen. A full digital scrapbook of betrayal. There she was, Olivia, wrapped up in Jake, like a plot twist I saw coming but still hoped wouldn't land. Photos of them holding hands in the parking garage. One of her laughing over dinner. One of him kissing her neck while they waited for their drinks. But the one that did me in? The hotel entry shot. He was swiping his keycard. She was leaning into him like home. I closed my laptop. No tears. No dramatic music swelling in the background. Just a weird stillness in my chest. Like my body didn't want to waste anger on what my brain already accepted. That night, I made pasta, watched a documentary, slept on my side of the bed, and left hers untouched. In the morning, I made her coffee, just the way she liked it. I was done being blindsided. Now it was my turn to plan. "You've been quiet lately," she said, between sips. I smiled. "Just focused. Got a lot on my mind." She nodded. "Same here. Work's a nightmare." "I bet." Then I handed her a sticky note. "What's this?" she asked. "Just a reminder," I said, still smiling. She looked down. It was the name and address of the hotel from the photos. I watched her face drain color like a glass tipping over. She didn't speak for a solid 15 seconds after reading the sticky note. Olivia stared at it like it might rearrange itself into a joke, maybe something clever I scribbled down after too much wine. It didn't. "Is this?" she began, then stopped. Her voice was thinner than usual, and I caught the flicker in her eyes, the kind you see when someone's mental Rolodex starts spinning through possible lies and none of them feel safe. "I've never heard of this hotel," she finally said. I sipped my coffee. "It's the Hampton Ridge. Room 604. Pretty decent place. Complimentary breakfast, heated pool, soft lighting. You know, romantic." She opened her mouth to speak, but I held up a finger. "Don't," I said calmly. "Don't lie. Don't improvise. Don't insult what little intelligence I have left." Olivia's jaw tightened. Her default expression wasn't fear. It was irritation. The same look she gave when I forgot to pick up almond milk or used the wrong hand towel. "I wasn't going to lie," she said, which was, of course, a lie. "Great. Then we're already making progress." She folded the note once, then again, pressing it with the precision of someone trying to regain control. "So what now? You want me to confess? Is that what this is?" "I don't need a confession, Olivia. I've got photos. Timestamps. Your lover's LinkedIn page. Barrett even got a shot of him scratching his nose while waiting for you outside the Thai place on 7th. Barrett, my private investigator. Not cheap, but thorough." She swallowed. I could see it. That little involuntary gulp, like her body was trying to choke down the weight of consequence. "You've been spying on me?" "No. I've been verifying reality," I replied. "See, there's a difference. One implies paranoia. The other? Survival instinct." She didn't respond. She just walked to the sink, dumped the rest of her untouched coffee, and leaned on the counter. I stayed seated, elbows on the table, watching her like someone might observe a lion in a zoo. Not quite afraid. Not impressed either. Just aware. "I wasn't trying to hurt you," she said. That one nearly got a laugh out of me. "You did, though. Repeatedly. Strategically. And with enthusiasm." "It's not like that. Olivia," I said, cutting her off. "You took our anniversary dinner call from the bathroom of a hotel you shared with him." That silenced her. I could practically hear the wind get knocked out of her spine. "Was it worth it?" I asked. "What? The lie. The affair. The effort. Was it worth torching everything we built?" Her eyes glistened for the first time. Not full-on tears. Just moisture. Just enough for plausible deniability. "I didn't plan any of it," she whispered. "It just happened. One minute we were talking, and the next, you tripped and fell onto him. Classic story." She flinched. "Good. I was tired of being the only one bleeding silently. I was lonely," she said, turning to face me fully now. "You stopped looking at me like I was someone you wanted." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean someone I trusted?" "Because, yeah, that went out the window around the time your accounting buddy started texting you at 1:15 a.m. She didn't deny it. "Not anymore. That's the funny thing about catching someone mid-lie. They tend to stop running when the oxygen runs out." "I'm sorry," she said at last. The words dropped like pebbles, small and unsatisfying. I nodded. "I know. But here's the problem. I'm done accepting apologies as a substitute for decency." She blinked. "So what now? You file for divorce?" I stood up, pushed in my chair. "Oh, I'm past filing. A flicker of fear crept into her voice. What do you mean? I mean this isn't going to end with me in a courtroom splitting assets like a neutered accountant. Her brow furrowed. Then what? I smiled. I'm going to let you wonder. Just like you made me wonder every time you said, working late, with that tired little smirk. I'm going to let you check every shadow, every knock on the door, every unfamiliar number on your phone. Is that supposed to scare me? She said, almost defiantly. No, I said. It's supposed to prepare you. And with that, I walked out of the kitchen. She didn't follow. Upstairs, I entered the guest room, the one I'd been sleeping in for the last 2 weeks under the excuse of late-night work stress. The door locked with a solid click behind me. Inside that room was a folder. 2 actually. One for the lawyer, and one for what came after. Because see, Olivia was right about one thing. I had stopped looking at her like I wanted her. But what she didn't know yet was how long I'd been planning exactly what to do once I confirmed the truth. And I wasn't about to start being predictable now. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because of guilt. Not even rage. It was strategy. I lay there in the guest room, staring at the ceiling fan doing its slow, hypnotic dance. Every rotation felt like a countdown. Every creak of the floorboards, a reminder that Olivia was still in the house, probably curled up in the bed we used to share, trying to figure out what kind of man I'd become since she stopped pretending to love me. She assumed I'd crack, that I'd yell, cry, pack a bag, maybe even beg. She didn't understand the kind of quiet storm she'd created. By morning, I'd made my decision. No, not divorce. Not yet. That would come eventually, sure. But first came the long game. I started with the bank accounts. Quietly shifted a few things around. Nothing illegal. Just reorganization. Protection. I even left hers untouched, because I wanted her comfortable. A confident liar is a sloppy one. Next was work. I told my boss I needed to work remotely for a while to handle a personal situation. He didn't ask. I think he heard something in my voice that made him not want to. Then came the cameras. I installed 3. Hidden. One in the living room behind the bookshelf. One in the kitchen, nestled in a fake smoke detector. And one in our bedroom. Not because I was hoping to catch her again. I already had that. No, these were for documentation. I didn't trust her not to rewrite history when it all came crashing down. And it would. The trick wasn't to explode. It was to erode. A few days passed. Olivia acted normal. Suspiciously normal. She still cooked dinner. Still left the TV on too loud. Still texted with her screen turned away from me, like that trick only works on toddlers. Every time she smiled at me across the kitchen island, I wanted to ask, do you really think I don't know who you are now? But I stayed quiet. Because I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was orchestrating. One night, she made spaghetti. Even poured me a glass of wine like it was 2015, and we were still pretending to be something golden. This is nice, she said, twirling noodles on her fork. Yeah, I said, sipping my wine. Feels good to reconnect. Her shoulders relaxed, just enough. The performance was working. She thought I was softening. Good. Because the next morning, while she was in the shower, I removed every sentimental item she'd ever given me from my office. The anniversary watch. Gone. The framed photo from our honeymoon. Gone. That little clay dish she made in a pottery class and claimed symbolized balance. Smashed, swept, dumped. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did and chose not to ask. It didn't matter. Then came the emails. I created a new one. Alias, clean, no ties to anything. I used it to reach out to Barrett, my private investigator. Subject line, Phase 2. He replied within the hour. Let's talk specifics. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm planning something wild, right? Some big, dramatic retaliation? No. I'm not here to burn bridges. I'm here to sell the land the bridge was built on, right out from under her. Phase 2 began with quiet visits. A discreet appraiser to look at the house. Another to evaluate our cars. Not because I wanted to sell just yet, but because I wanted numbers. Knowledge is leverage. While Olivia was sending heart emojis to a man who wore pastel button-downs and probably said things like, let's circle back, I was building my exit. I got a P.O. box. Started shifting my mail. Changed my passwords. She noticed once. Hey, I couldn't log into our Netflix last night. Huh, I said, not looking up from my laptop. Weird. She bought it. She was slipping. Then came the twist I didn't expect. I was home late one evening, headphones in, reviewing footage from the living room camera when I saw something I didn't anticipate. Olivia. Crying. Not just tears. Full breakdown. Curled on the couch, knees to her chest, phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline. She whispered something into the dark room. I ruined everything. I paused the footage, stared at the screen, felt something, but it passed. Because remorse isn't redemption. And a person crying after they set the fire doesn't make them any less of an arsonist. The next day, I told her I'd be out of town for work. Where to? She asked. Denver, I lied. Just 3 days. She smiled. Want me to pack you a lunch for the flight? I smiled back. No need. I've got it covered. What I didn't tell her was that Barrett had sent me a list of every place she and Jake had met. Restaurants, hotels, bars, including one I recognized as our favorite place, the Lantern Room. That little rooftop bistro we discovered on our first anniversary. Turns out, it made a nice backdrop for betrayal too. So I made a reservation. Not for dinner, not for drinks, but to have Barrett meet me there. He had everything ready. Flash drive, hard copies, legal summaries, text logs. Once you use this, he said, there's no going back. I took the envelope. I passed going back weeks ago, and as I stepped out into the night, wind brushing against my coat, I felt something surprising. Lightness, like the weight of the lie was no longer on my shoulders. I wasn't running. I wasn't breaking down. I was becoming something else. Prepared that I didn't leave a note. I didn't pack a suitcase. I just didn't come home. It was Thursday morning when I made my move. Early enough that Olivia wouldn't think anything was off until dinner. By then, my phone would be turned off, my account silent, and my location history wiped cleaner than her conscience. I checked into a modest little Airbnb about 20 minutes outside the city. Private. Paid in cash. No digital footprint. A cabin-style setup with creaky floors and a view of nothing. Perfect. That evening, I let her calls go to voicemail. Then the text started. Olivia, where are you? Olivia, did you forget about dinner? Olivia, call me. Please. I smiled. Not out of spite. This wasn't revenge. This was education. I wanted her to feel it. The absence. The silence. The eerie stillness of being the one left behind. For once. Friday morning, Barrett texted. She called Jake twice. Left one voicemail crying. Didn't say much. Just your name, over and over. I didn't respond. Instead, I poured myself some coffee and read a book I hadn't touched in 5 years. Something about solitude made the words feel more honest. By the end of day 2, she'd messaged my sister, my coworker, even my barber, all asking the same question. Have you seen him? I stayed gone for 3 full days. When I returned Sunday night, Olivia was curled up on the couch, wearing the hoodie I'd stopped wearing the moment I found her affair folder. The house was dimly lit, smelling faintly of lavender and desperation. I opened the door like I'd just come from a quick jog. She bolted upright. Where have you been? Out, I said, hanging up my jacket. For 3 days? Her voice cracked like ice. I thought you were dead. I almost called the police. I nodded slowly, feigning surprise. You didn't. She blinked, lips parting. I thought maybe you just needed space. I stepped into the kitchen and poured a glass of water. I did. Then I drank it in one slow gulp. When I turned, she was standing there, arms crossed tightly, as if trying to squeeze herself back into control. You can't just disappear, she said. Oh, I said. You sure? Because you seem to manage just fine doing it one hotel room at a time. She flinched. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't lean forward. Just let the silence settle like dust. I'm trying to fix this, she said quietly. No, Olivia. You're trying to stop the fallout. That's not the same thing. She started to cry. Real tears this time, not the soft, performative kind. But I didn't rush to console her. I watched, arms folded, because I needed her to sit in it for once. To feel the weight of what she broke. You were gone, she said again, almost whispering now. I didn't know what to think. Good, I said. Now you know what it feels like. Her breath hitched. So what happens now? I stared at her. Now, I said. Now we coexist. She frowned. What does that mean? It means we live in this house together until I decide what I want to do. You lost the right to make decisions for this marriage the day you gave your heart and your body to someone else. I didn't mean to. You did, I interrupted. You just didn't mean to get caught. She looked away, shame finally tugging at her face like it had been waiting for permission. Are you going to leave me? She asked. I already did. You just didn't notice. That hit her like a slap. I walked past her, heading upstairs. You don't get to walk away from this conversation, she snapped, her voice rising. I paused on the stairs and looked back down at her. I'm not walking away, I said. I'm just done pretending there's still a conversation worth having. Upstairs, I entered the room we used to share. Everything looked the same, but none of it felt like mine anymore. That night, I slept with the door locked. Not because I was afraid, but because I wanted the barrier to be physical, not just emotional. She needed to knock before trying to come back into my world. The next morning, Barrett sent me a message. Jake's been quiet. No meetings. No calls. She's probably trying to convince him this was a mistake. I replied, let her try. She's late to the party. The cleanup crew's already packing up. By Tuesday, Olivia was quieter, more docile. She tiptoed around me like I was some wounded animal that might bite if approached too quickly. It was satisfying, but also sad, because I wasn't trying to punish her anymore. I was preparing to bury the version of me that loved her. That's when I got the envelope. Plain manila. No return address. Just my name, printed in bold letters. Inside? A photo. Jake. Different woman. Different hotel. Different betrayal. And a note, scrawled in perfect penmanship. Funny how cheaters always cheat again. Thought you'd want to know. No signature. No explanation. But it told me everything I needed. I stood there, holding the evidence, realizing something I hadn't expected to feel. Pity. Not for Jake. Not for the new woman. For Olivia. Because the man she blew up our life for was just another version of her. Unfaithful. Disposable. Predictable. And she hadn't just lost me. She'd traded down. The photo stayed in my jacket pocket for 3 days. I didn't show it to Olivia. I didn't confront her with the proof that Jake was already on to his next mistake. I didn't even mention it. Why? Because some truths don't need a spotlight. They need silence, a silence so loud it echoes in your bones. Instead, I let it sit. I went about my week like a man slowly packing up a museum that no longer had visitors. Everything neat. Methodical. By Friday, I'd made up my mind. I walked into our kitchen, poured a cup of coffee, and placed a single sheet of paper on the island. A separation agreement. Drafted. Notarized. Ready for signatures. Olivia stared at it like it had crawled out of the drain. What's this? She asked, her voice more brittle than usual. Freedom, I said, sipping calmly. Yours and mine. She reached for it slowly, like it might explode. You said you weren't ready to make decisions. I wasn't, I replied. But you were. Months ago. I'm just catching up. Her hands trembled as she scanned it. No tricks. No traps. Just a fair split of what we built together and what she chose to fracture. You're serious. I've never been clearer. She sat down, like her knees forgot how to hold her. So that's it. We're just done. I tilted my head. Were we ever really still at we? Be honest. She didn't answer. Not directly. Instead, she whispered, I thought maybe we could still find our way back. To what? I asked. The lie? The routine? The denial? She blinked, and a tear finally fell. The real kind. The kind that doesn't come with an agenda. I still love you. I nodded. And yet you still slept with him. Funny how those two things don't cancel each other out. You don't believe people can change? People don't change, Olivia. They get better at hiding their intentions. Until they don't. She looked away, and I finally placed the photo in front of her. Jake. Arm around a brunette. Different city. Same smirk. I watched it sink in. The way her breath caught. The way her eyes froze. You didn't think you were his only deception, did you? I said. She stared at the image like it was a Rorschach test for her dignity. I didn't know. Exactly, I replied. And now you do. Welcome to my side of the glass. She pushed the photo away like it stung her fingers. He told me I was different. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Not loud. Not mocking. Just the kind of tired laugh a man gives when the last puzzle piece slides into place and reveals a picture of a clown car on fire. I'm sure he did, I said. Right before checking into a Marriott with someone else's different. She stood up abruptly, pacing now. So what? You're just going to walk away? That's it. No, I said. I already walked away. Now I'm just finalizing the paperwork. She stopped pacing. Her eyes were wet, but her posture had shifted. The sadness was hardening, turning to something else. You think this makes you the better person, she said. You think walking away cold makes you strong? No, I replied. But it makes me sane. She scoffed. You've been plotting this, haven't you? All that quiet? That was you building an exit ramp. I shrugged. I was just matching your energy. Call it poetic symmetry. There it was. The flash of the Olivia I knew, sharp, defensive, proud. For a moment, I thought she'd fight, argue, beg. Instead, she sat back down. Quiet now. Hollow. I didn't expect this version of you, she admitted. The calm, calculated one. Neither did I said. Turns out betrayal's a hell of a teacher. She ran a hand through her hair, letting silence stretch between us like an old rope bridge. Fragile. Worn. One gust away from collapse. Then she reached for a pen. No conditions, she asked. None, I said. I don't want revenge, Olivia. I just want out. She signed. No hesitation. No theatrics. Just ink on paper and a finality I hadn't realized I was craving until that moment. I gathered the documents, slid them into the envelope. I'll have my lawyer file it Monday, I said. I'll stay at my brother's place until we finalize the move out. You can keep the house for now. You don't want anything? She asked. I want peace, I replied. You can't put that in a drawer. She nodded slowly. Does he know? She asked quietly, nodding toward the photo. I looked at her, then the image. No, I said. But he will. And I meant it. Not because I wanted to protect her, but because men like Jake don't get to walk away without someone showing them what it's like to lose control. I left the kitchen without another word. Went upstairs. Packed a single bag. Essentials only. As I zipped it up, I looked around the room one last time. This wasn't my home anymore. It was a memory museum. And I was done with the tour. As I walked down the stairs, Olivia stood at the bottom, eyes puffy, lips parted like she wanted to speak, but couldn't. I'll be back for the rest next week, I said, stepping past her. She didn't follow. Didn't stop me. Didn't say goodbye. Good. Some endings don't deserve applause. They deserve silence. I didn't go to my brother's to mope. I went to reset. The place was a dusty two-bedroom above a hardware store, but it had what I needed. Silence, space, and zero memories of Olivia. I spent the first day boxing up thoughts, not belongings. I reviewed every conversation I'd had with her over the last year, saw every smirk I'd mistaken for warmth, every girl's night that turned into a rendezvous with Jake. And then, I did something unexpected. I called Jake. He answered on the second ring, voice smooth, unaware. Hello. Jake, I said calmly, this is the guy you didn't think would find out. Pause. Then a laugh. Mark, man, I think you're... I'm not here to yell. I'm not even here to threaten. I just wanted you to know something. Okay. You weren't special. Olivia wasn't loyal. And you? You're about to find out what it feels like when someone stops pretending they don't see through you. He tried to respond, but I ended the call. No theatrics. Just the sound of a door clicking shut for good. Later that night, a message came from Olivia. Olivia, I know you're gone, but can I at least talk to you? Really talk? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I'd already heard everything I needed. I wasn't chasing closure. I was giving it to myself. 2 weeks later, the house was mine again. Olivia had moved into a condo across town. I returned for the last of my things, my tools, my records, the old flannel she used to steal from the laundry basket when she missed me. She left a note on the counter. I'm sorry. For all of it. Maybe one day you'll understand why it happened. I folded it without reading the rest. Understanding was never the goal. Some sins don't come with a neat explanation. The neighborhood was quiet as I locked the front door for the last time. Funny how the same door that once meant home could now feel like a grave marker. But I wasn't burying pain anymore. I was planting freedom. 1 week later, I got an invitation. It wasn't from Olivia. It was from Jake. Typed email. Clean. Polite. We're expecting. Figured you'd want to know. And maybe talk. Expecting. That hit different. Olivia always said she didn't want kids. Said it wasn't her path. Said we weren't the kind of couple to raise a child. Now she was making a family with the man she betrayed me with. So I sent a one-line response. Congratulations. You'll both need luck. And I meant it. Because building something on a lie doesn't make it a family. It makes it a time bomb. There was no fire. No bullets. No screaming match at a restaurant. What happened to Jake wasn't loud. It was surgical. Barrett had quietly gathered more than hotel footage. He'd done a little research into Jake's business, some real estate ventures with shaky partners, a few gray area investments that hadn't aged well. One anonymous tip to the SEC and a couple calls to the bank's fraud division later, and Jake's financial world began to crack. Not collapse. Just creak. Enough for the pressure to build. I didn't need to touch him. I just pulled the thread. 3 months later, I saw a headline. Local developer under investigation for financial irregularities. Jake's face was cropped into the corner. He looked older, tired. And Olivia? She was in the background, pushing a stroller. She looked ordinary, unremarkable. Just another woman trying to explain to her new man why everything was falling apart again. I didn't feel glee. I felt nothing. And that was the point. Because true revenge isn't rage. It's indifference. It's walking past the wreckage with clean hands and dry eyes. It's knowing you survived someone else's chaos and built peace from the ashes. I live in a smaller house now, closer to the mountains. Fewer things. More quiet. And sometimes, when people ask if I've ever been married, I say, once. No details. Because Olivia doesn't get chapters anymore. She gets a footnote. And I've never felt more alive.